What's up, addressees? Welcome to the H&R TV, the official YouTube channel for the hottest new revolution, culture, and movement. That's to live your life and love the life you live, regardless of who you piss off in the process, culture, and movement. And this video is a little different from what I normally talk about, but it's very important for me to cover this topic right now, today. So follow along. And I wrote a script, because again, like I said, something that I feel like is real important. I don't want to miss nothing. I'll write it down. So follow along with me, folks. Learning business and politics is what started to shift my understanding of the world and how power works. This video is a mix of free game and also me doing my part and stepping up with the platform that I have to put my listeners on to the times and the challenges that we live in today. And this is more specifically for my listeners in the United States. I'm speaking about national politics. And if you somewhere else in the world you want to listen in just to hear what's going on, then shit, feel free. This is probably not what a lot of folks want to hear from me right now, but it's still very important. And if you rock with me, then all I ask is for you to hear me out on this video. And if you're one of them folks who are always talking about what you would and wouldn't have done during slavery times and how they would have had you fucked up, then this video goes especially for y'all, because little do y'all know, the single most effective way you can tell them folks to go and find somebody else to play with is to go and vote for the best fighters that you want representing you and your family in the halls of power, where all the decisions about your life, how you live, the opportunities you get to and don't get to have access to are being made. And all the decisions about how life in America goes for people in general are being made. Government decisions don't happen in a vacuum that never reaches or affects you and me. The shit they do up there affects what happens to you, your moms, your pops, your brothers, sisters, partners, whoever you love and care about in this country, living in this country. So we got to make sure that we send in the right people to the fight so that us and our families can be represented in the fight, to start having the right kinds of opportunities and experiences start to show up for people in this country, especially for blacks and smaller minority groups. It starts with the vote, folks. And please, I'm begging you, please stop listening to relatives and people who tell you that your vote don't count anyway. So why even vote? Listen, folks, and especially to my fellow black people, if your vote didn't count, then the U.S. Supreme Court wouldn't be redrawing county maps to where all black communities and black and brown populated areas are being cut up and divided right at the borders, so that all different black people and black voters, all living in one single area, even in the same neighborhood in many cases, now all have to report to different voting jurisdictions where their votes will be counted, but not along with all the other black people's votes who they live around. Instead, the map redraw is making it so that black people's votes from the same neighborhood or even just living right up the street from you, but instead of their votes being counted along with yours and everybody else's that lives in your area, the U.S. Supreme Court recently said it's okay to redraw the maps to divide and split all the black and brown neighborhoods up to where a few black people from each section of that same neighborhood or community now have to report to different voting locations to have their votes counted. Not all together as one to represent our area and communities as a whole. But instead, the lines are being redrawn to break us black people up into jurisdictions that will count our votes not alongside our black brothers and sisters and the people we live with and who represent us and the communities that we share together. But instead, right now, the U.S. Supreme Court has given permission to redraw maps that break up the voting numbers in our black and brown communities, to put a few of our black voters in one jurisdiction, a few into another, and a few more into another, to dilute the vote, folks. and so on until the black voter numbers in your particular area are so broken up and divided that, according to the new Supreme Court maps, all the black voters will now have to vote in jurisdictions that have been deceptively engineered and strategically redrawn to split black voters up from where before we would have formed one single large jurisdiction representing all of our voices together, into now jurisdictions being cut up to place a few of us here and a few of us there into jurisdictions that have been redrawn to try to make sure other races and other groups of people now exist in larger numbers inside those jurisdictions, in hopes that those other races and other groups will show up and vote in large enough numbers that it will hopefully be enough to cancel out all the black and brown votes in that jurisdiction. This is what's going on, folks, and this is why it's so important. This is why none of us can afford to be silent about it, and none of us can afford to sit back and do nothing. Where we at? Yeah. So, in hopes that they show up and vote in large enough numbers that it will hopefully be enough to cancel out all the black and brown votes in that jurisdiction. The same black and brown votes that have already been strategically divided and split all up to create these unethical jurisdictions in the first place. Which is precisely why it is so important, if you're black and brown, especially black folks, for us to make sure we get registered to vote and we actually show up to the polls to double, triple, and quadruple our numbers in our jurisdictions. If they want to play dirty, then we got to do our part as citizens of this country, and especially as black citizens of this country, to make sure that we're showing up for ourselves, for our communities, and for the future generations of black children and black people that will one day live in this country. Voting can seem annoying and inconvenient, especially if you've never done it before and you got to learn all these new details and things to do, and you still got to figure out how to register and do all of these things. I get it. But again, I want to emphasize the importance of this moment and the need for every black and brown person and every ally and decent human being to get registered to vote, to actually show up to the polls and cast your vote, and to know who's running for what, so you can understand who you need to vote for. This might sound like a lot to you listening, and you might be thinking this don't really apply to you, or you just one person and the world will still be okay if you sit this out. But no, now, and especially now, ain't the time in history to be thinking like that, folks. For the same reasons that these folks feel the need to split up the jurisdictions to try to spread out our votes, are the same reasons that we, every single black and brown person that is 17 and a half or older, should be registering to vote so that we can all pack out the polls to make up for the losses in numbers in our areas where they cut up the maps. Let's make their plan backfire on them. And once again, please stop listening to the people that swear that your vote don't count. People who think that way annoy me, not only because they're too lazy to do a quick and simple research that it takes to find the truth, but also because their ignorance and lack of knowledge and action costs the rest of us. So don't listen to your mom, your dad, cousins, aunties, uncles, or whoever else may try to tell you that your vote don't count. Listen to the business owner that's been voting and having my vote counted for years, and from a person who has actually had conversations with millionaire and billionaire business owners, politicians, and people who actually really have knowledge about these sorts of things. It takes less than 10 minutes, folks, to register to vote. It's free, and you can do it completely online from a cell phone, a laptop, or any tablet. So it's really no excuse why you shouldn't be able to do it right now. Matter of fact, just follow these exact instructions that I'm finna give you on where you need to go and what you got to do to register. This explanation should be able to walk you through the whole entire process in less than 10 minutes, folks. So let's go. Let's get it. It's less than 10 minutes. It won't even take you that long. Follow along with me. And pause this video right now if you need to go get a cell phone or a tablet or run to a desktop or go borrow somebody next to you's phone or whatever the case may be. All right. So go to this website, vote.gov. Vote, vote.gov. In order to register, you need a valid state photo ID or driver's license. The address on that ID must match the address that you put on the ballot when you vote. And you must be in the correct jurisdiction. I'm going to tell you how to find that too. A student ID, oh, run that back real quick. I'm going to just read specific, like line for line what I said and stop detouring because, like I said, I want to get every detail and I want y'all to follow along. Go to vote.gov. And in order to register, you need a valid state photo ID or driver's license, and the address on the license must match the address that you put into the ballot. And you must be in the correct jurisdiction. Or you could use a student ID from a state recognized public college or university. Or you could use a government or military employee photo ID, which most of my listeners probably wouldn't have. Well, who knows, maybe. Or a valid passport. Doesn't matter if your license is suspended or expired. They're not checking for all that at the polls. They just want to see your photo and your address. All right. First, to check if you're already registered, from the home page, select your state or territory to begin. Once you get there, select your state. Fill out that form, your first initial, last name, county you live in, and your birthday. And the result should tell you if you're actively registered. If something in your information on file is wrong, then select update my information. And if nothing comes back, then click back to the website's homepage and select register or update my registration online. Select register now button to vote online using valid state ID. Complete the 5-question checklist. The questions are simple, folks. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing intrusive. Select begin voter registration. The application is 3 parts: general information, address, and review applications or review application. And it shouldn't take longer than 5 minutes unless you have trouble finding the last 4 numbers of your social security number, because you're going to need that too. If you don't have it, then please make sure to care and to take my request serious enough to go and find it. If you don't have it, because we can't afford for nobody to be sitting these next very important upcoming elections out for something so simple and crazy as you didn't feel like taking the time to find out to find out the last 4 of your social. Come on, lock in, folks. Let's try to show an ounce of responsibility, please. Fill out the general information page. Before you leave the page, it's going to ask you to validate your state ID number and to give permission to use the same signature that you used for your ID for them to lock in your vote. And as long as you got all the info that you need handy, then you should be good. Next, complete the address form. The next step would be the review page. They're going to ask you to swear and affirm that you're a U.S. citizen, at least 17 and a half or 18 years old, depending on your state. And that information, and that the information that you provided is correct. You're going to select continue and then submit your vote registration application. And as long as you got the information ready, it shouldn't take longer than 5 to 10 minutes to do that, folks. Let me go through and read this. In case folks is wondering. All right. as far as like criminal eligibility requirements, it says the Georgia. Well, this is for Georgia where I live, but this check again. Check the website for your state. Put in your state information, and this will be relevant for you as well. But I'm pretty sure this is that this would be a nationwide thing. It says for the most part. I can't be sure though, so make sure you check. The Georgia Supreme Court has ruled that in Georgia, all felonies are crimes involving moral turpitude. You are considered to have completed your felony sentence for the purpose of voter eligibility if you have completed any term of incarceration, probation, or parole and paid all fines, unless such fines are canceled upon completion of your term of incarceration, probation, or parole. When the fines were imposed as a condition of probation, they are automatically canceled upon completion of that probation. Your felony sentence is considered completed even if you have outstanding monetary obligations or even if you have outstanding monetary obligations other than fines, such as unpaid restitution, fees, costs, or surcharges. So, as long as you don't owe no money or like have no like uh y'all just read it. I just read it for y'all, bro. I'm not even gonna try to act like I can. Give me 1 second. Act like I can summarize that for y'all. I just read it. Hopefully, like if you got that situation going on, hopefully you was able to follow along. If not, rewind it and listen again. All right. Um, Also, if you're questioning your criminal background or what rights you may have, I'm more certain than not that you should still be good to register and to also show up to the polls and vote undisturbed with no issues, even if you have a failure to appear warrant or like for traffic offenses or misdemeanors. There is no law enforcement that hangs out at the voting polls, folks, checking people's IDs for warrants. They don't do that. There's rarely any law enforcement ever there, period. And if you see someone, find out from someone else why they're there before you approach them. But in all of my years voting, I never seen that happen or had that happen to me. Well, I never had no convictions, but anyway, I never seen it or had that happen to anybody that I was around. Um, However, you might want to hold off on the registering if you got to provide an address that's not already on your state ID. If the address is already on your ID, then that's a place where they already know you be at sometimes. If you have a warrant and you have to add a completely new address that's already on file or that's not already on file or that's different from the address on your state ID, then that's probably the only reason that I would caution you to probably don't do it, just to be on the safe side. But other than that, folks, you should be good to follow the instructions that I just put in this video to go and register and then to show up to the polls. And if you just followed along with me and got registered to vote, then today is Tuesday, May 19th, 2026, folks. And if you live in Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, Kentucky, Oregon, or Pennsylvania, today is voting day for you. And I want to compel you, I want to encourage you to show up to the polls. If it's your first time voting, you don't really know what to do, I would say if you're showing up to the polls because I sent you, then find somebody up there that's a Democrat. You got to do what we got to do, folks. I know it's your first time. I know that you trying to figure it out, but right now is not the time to be sitting these elections out, folks. So I would compel you to find out where your local voting poll is. If you live in Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, Kentucky, Oregon, or Pennsylvania, and you can go and, like I said, find a Democrat. Don't find a Republican. Find a Democrat and just ask them a curious question. What's like, who's on the ballot, who they're voting for, and get the information that you need to be able to make an educated decision for the best of you and your family. Um, I think that's it. I'm not gonna drag this out. Y'all be safe today. Stay out the way. Take everything one step at a time, one day at a time. And again, y'all, this is so important. It's very important. Again, I wouldn't even be talking about it if it wasn't. Y'all be safe today. Stay out the way. Take everything one step at a time, one day at a time. Focus on finding yourself and finding your purpose. I love you, King V, H&R.